Oh, landmines and jellyfish. Welcome back to Knives, I guess. And do you think whoever that was, they did eventually move and get out of Ludacris's way? I lose sleep over that. But we did a live stream and we went in on the Kizer Nice Guy. So let's take a look at the boy real quick. And first things first, and most importantly, the pocket clip is tip up, which is the Lord's carry. We got our aluminum scales with the black coating on them. We got our flipper tabs. So let's flick the bean. And 2.97 inches of Nitro V steel. And of course, we went in on this thing so we could compare the Nitro V to the 154 cm on the Kizer Sheepdog XL. And yeah, you know, let's flick the bean. Big bean flick, gentlemen. So we did our live stream on the Sheepdog XL, and that thing went for 8 hours, give or take, of non-stop cutting. That's the best performance we've seen so far. And you know, I was blown away by that. Like, I know the 154 cm was supposed to be good, but I didn't know how good until we did that. So I was at Blade Show, and I'm at the Kizer booth, and I'm talking to Jeremy, and I explained to him, we did the live stream, how long that lasted and all that. And he pulled out the Amicus and showed me that thing and mentioned the Nitro V on it. And of course, me being me, my first thought is, that's a badass steel name. I like that. But he also said it should be comparable to the 154 cm, which is interesting, because it's not quite comparable to 154 cm. So the Nitro V, this thing went for a little shy of 4 hours. At the 3.5 hour mark, it was starting to get really bad. And I mean, going into it, it came out of the gate swinging. This is the one that came in on the factory edge after the first one I bought. The edge out of the box was terrible, and that was a members-only giveaway knife after I sharpened it. So one of our loyal viewers is the lucky recipient of it, and it will be in the mail soon. But, you know, so we got the factory edge. It came out of the gate cutting nice, and it was so good to have something with a flat grind on it to cut with finally. After doing a lot of the hollow grinds and stuff like that, it was just nice to go back to what I like. You know, and we do have this flat grind up to the swedge, and you don't have a huge flat right here that's causing friction in the cuts. So it did really well on that front. And it went, and, you know, the edge deterioration after the first hour was about what most things do. You can tell the finest part of the apex was knocked off, and a little bit of wear was starting to show up in here where the cut starts on every cut. So that wasn't to be expected. I had hopes that we were going to blast past 4 hours, but we didn't. You know, getting into that second hour, the edge wear really started showing up. Getting into the third hour, it was very noticeable. And I said, after 3.5 hours or so, just about all the cuts through cardboard were starting to be a struggle. It was starting to tear and roll more than it was cutting on a lot of those cuts. Like, it started getting bad. So, you know, we wrapped up the live stream, and of course we sharpened it. And of course I'm going to get some copy paper to cut up, because why wouldn't I? I sharpened this thing. And yeah, I always board cuts up on camera if you're new here. And this is no exception. Like, there's so little room to keep this held straight up under the camera that I keep constantly messing cuts up, and I never learn anything. I never learn anything and do it in a different way. I just do it the same way and expect different results every single time. So, you know, of course I got it good and sharp, and it really took the edge quite well. Going in there, of course, the 220 grit on the precision adjust didn't really show a burr. It took a while, but I finally got the tiniest of burrs. So going through and on the rest of the sharpening, every time I switched stones, I got a really nice burr. It was nice, tight, crispy, kind of the kind of thing I like to see. And, you know, it took the edge really, really well. So props there. It was not hard to sharpen back up, and it looks like the factory edge was right about 17 degrees. Now, Rob's Nerdy Knives has a steel chart on the internets, and it said that D2's edge retention's a 4, Nitro V's edge retention is a 3. That is believable based on the performance, because all of our D2 has gone for 4 hours almost like clockwork, unless, you know, like the Sentry L1, I pushed it really, really hard, thinking that big old blade was going to be an absolute monster, and I wore the edge out a little bit faster than the rest of our D2, because I went really, really hard on it. So, according to everything I'm seeing here, the heat treatment was good, the blade is definitely made well. It carried fantastic. Like, I love how this thing carried. It did so good for me. You know, it's one of those now. It's one of the ones I had to force myself to not reach for, and it's like, you know, I'm carrying when I'm carrying cheaper knives that aren't nearly as good, it's like I miss that nice guy, kind of like I miss the Growler V2 prototype, kind of like I miss carrying the Bug Out. It's one of those fantastic carries. It's very, very well designed. The blade steel is going to be very tough. It's going to soak up some punishment, but the edge retention isn't going to be the best. And, you know, for most of us home gamers, that's going to be just fine. We're just breaking down boxes, popping tape, stuff like that. But if you are a hard user and you need the edge retention, other steels are going to be better. But if you need it to be tough and not be brittle, this is going to be a good way to go. So you guys know I love sharing the results of Cardboard Slayer. I love sharing the aftermath with you and what happened there. That's what happened with this one. You know, I didn't know what to expect with this. I was kind of expecting another 8 hours after being told the Nitro V is comparable to the 154 CM, because that 154 CM is a performer. And you can kind of tell it's a little bit softer. I'm not sure how well it's going to show on the camera, but there's a good bit of hazing. Let's see. There's a good bit of hazing, especially on this side with the scratches from the cardboard, which is indicative of a lower HRC steel that's not going to have the best edge retention. You know, it's nowhere near as bad as 8CR is. 8CR would have been covered in hazes. It would have been totally hazed out with hairline scratches, and you could see just a big old patch of hairlines going right through here where most of the cuts start and stop. So this is better than 8CR13. It's got a better HRC and better edge retention than 8CR13, but more scratching than D2, less edge retention than D2, so it's kind of right there in between them. Pretty good for a budget steel. But yeah, so those are all the results I can think of mentioning. Oh, ergonomics. Ergonomically, this thing is sound. That 4 hours, nothing happened to this right here. That 4 hours, very comfortable cutting. You know, while I was cutting and I got past the point where any rational person would be cutting, I did feel the steel pressing into here, you know, holding it and pushing it. You know, you always feel the back of the knife pressing into here, and that was definitely no exception here. I think the Buck 110 never had that happen, but that's a wide enough surface that you're kind of pressing on it with the whole thing instead of just one little strip right here. So ergonomically, it's sound. The steel is sound. The edge retention is sound. You know, overall, fantastic knife. As long as you get it at a good price, you're good to go. Now, that's everything I can think of sharing. So, all that being said, thanks for looking at my crap. Subscribers, you guys are awesome. Y'all have been pouring in here. I appreciate it so much. You have no idea. If you haven't subbed, please do. I've got 4 knives to give away at 4K, so get in here and try to win yourself a knife. Comments, I love some feedback. You know, you guys that were going in there with me and watched the live stream, what did you expect to happen? If you have one of these, let everybody know how it does for you. And all that being said, y'all have a nice day.